Should I blow my head off or work the next 45 years? I'm not suicidal. I'm 23 and want an honest answer from my elders on the interwebs, since this is probably a common thought for my generation. I hate working. Is there even any need to explain? I mean, if I could work 10 years and earn everything I need for the rest of my life, that'd be cool. But realistically, it looks more like work 45 years and die broke. So should us young people go to work and fall victim to capitalism and accept our fate? Is life worth living working 40 hours a week until my hair turns gray and I get bad knees? Your post makes me sad. You are the same age as my son and he recently said something similar. Wish I could make it better for you op. I don't necessarily hate working, but I hate having a boss, even though I've only had bosses who are good people for the last 15 years. I'm 47 and at some point being accountable for things not necessarily even in my control to someone who doesn't know any more than me got old. I don't want to be someone's boss either. Workplace hierarchy is kind of BS. Hierarchy of who makes final decisions is okay in some situations, but everyone having a boss holding a paycheck out like a carrot is a thumbs down. 50-50 suggestion. You either mess around until you find something bearable and lower your standard of living to meet that income, or you stay bitter and eventually want to find an exit. It is naturally a radicalizing world as it is, so eventually your bitterness can lead to hatred. If you do, go postal, as my old union worker father used to say. Make sure you remember it's a class war. The ones who truly made your life miserable weren't the teachers or employers who sold their humanity to save themselves. It is the elite pulling the strings. So may we all be French one day and overthrow the rich and cruel. You should try a secret third thing. Welcome to the beginning of your quarter life crisis. Realistically, you're going to have to work for the next 45 years. The work may suck, but the life in between can be beautiful if you make it that way. Or you may luck into a job that pays well, especially if you're good at making friends in the right places. 23 is young. Don't blow your head off just yet. If you really want to end it all, at least do the noble thing and take out some of the real evil in the world with you. Life gets better. Usually. Hang tough, champ. This reminds me of something that I read which is 100% accurate. So wait, two people decided to have sex 20 years ago and now I'm supposed to work for 45 years? Quote. Definitely not encouraging you to die, bud. Maybe eat some of those funny mushrooms that guy in a top hat is selling at your local music venue. And learn to accept your fate as a working class American. Hate to break it to you, but the way things are going depends on the field you're looking to work. You might have to work more than 45 years. Don't take your life, young man. I understand your frustration. Truly I do. I'd much rather you utilize your time and energy pushing back against what's coming. Organize. Share information with those that still haven't figured out how bad things are. Come to terms with the fact that almost everything you've been taught and told was a lie. Better to face it now than a week before your 40th birthday. We stand in solidarity with you. Don't give up. Not yet. I mean, people find meaning outside of work that makes life worth living. If you can find meaning outside of work, then yay, you'll probably want to keep living. If you don't got nothing, then IDK, man. If you don't want to work, you have to be cute enough to marry rich. I'm 50 and my knees are still great. Unlike my friends who are parents, mainly because I don't have kids, so I never spend a lot of time bending down and picking up heavy little people sitting on the floor. So don't have kids or take up running and your knees will be fine. Honestly, if I didn't have close relatives like my parents and siblings, I'd just buy a van and travel around the country doing odd jobs, making enough to eat and work out. But because of expectations, I gotta be a responsible, boring career guy because that's the norm. IDK. I keep working with the dream of having 1 year of retirement. I don't think I can afford more than 1 year. And I'm 59 now. If I thought I wouldn't get any retirement at all, I don't think I could go on. But somehow I have put all my hope into that 1 year as if it will be an afterlife party. Retirement me had better be grateful for working me. 40, and it does not get any better. If anything, it gets harder to see a way out. So, Jaded 45YO here. Don't blow your head off. Yes, the system is so very, very broken. Because that's how they want it to be. Don't fall into the trap of believing it's a particular generation's fault. It's not the boomers. It's not the Gen Zers. It's not the millennials. It's the selfish scumbags of the world that are the problem. 99% of people are good people, trying to do the best they can in a world deliberately designed to benefit the very, very few. Can anyone fix it? No, but everyone can. One day. And I genuinely hope it's one day very soon. Enough people will hit the wall. And then it won't be pretty for a while. But change will come. Be there to make change happen. Remember, there's only a few thousand of them. And billions of us. Be ready. Man, I'm not encouraging your suicide, but if you're going to go out, at least take a billionaire scumbag with you. I'm 35, almost 36. I have about $4,000 in my employer-sponsored retirement plan. I've had good jobs and 401 kiloseconds before, but I'm a dual amputee and health insurance never covers enough of my prosthetics, and I always get into a spot where I have to take hardship withdrawals. I see one of two possibilities for me. Work till I'm literally dead. Or at some point go on Social Security and Medicare if they exist and waste away in a wheelchair. Wishing I was dead. I'm 40. I started working on a horse farm when I was 12. My summers and weekends were spent in hayfields and horse stalls. My parents ended up borrowing the money I made when I was 16 and never paid me back. At 17, I worked at a lumber mill in my small town. At 19, I left my hometown. Tried to go to college to become a teacher, but knew I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life, so I dropped out. Bummed around for a while, worked trading on farms around the country. Eventually went to a liberal college where I studied blacksmithing, welding, permaculture, and other things I thought were fascinating. Still dropped out before getting a degree. I went back to traveling around the US, rode my bicycle across the country, lived in the woods outside of small towns, took odd jobs to earn small amounts of money. At times I'd work at a job for a year or two, date a woman for about that time until things didn't turn out my way and I'd move on. Eventually found a town and people I liked, so I stuck around for a while longer than I did anywhere else. I'd periodically travel, but always found myself coming back. My friends and I lived in an abandoned, reclaimed barn on a property one of their family owned. We lived rough but had a lot of fun and cared for each other. I lived this way because I also didn't want to work at some dead-end job my entire life and dreamt of olden times where people were valued for caring for one another in a community. The direct result of work was food on the table and homes built from our surroundings. But at this point I was in my late 20s. I had a lot of fun and I learned a lot from my adventures and different jobs. But I started to want a family and knew I didn't want to raise a family in an unstable situation. I moved away from my chosen people to start a new life once again. I always liked working with people and cared a great deal for people on the margins of society. Plus a lot of my short-term work history was in social service. I got a job at a non-profit working with homeless youth and worked my way up to a management position. Ran my own community center and overnight shelter. Then COVID hit. We had to shut down and I got very sick. Running a homeless shelter near Seattle at the onset of the pandemic. We all got very sick. I had a little money saved up. Plus COVID bonus money kept coming in. So I took some time away from working and went back to school remotely to finish my degree. I was mid-30s at this point. Still no family. While taking time away from work, I was playing a VR game and got to talking with a fella online and he told me I should go into sales. He thought I had the personality to succeed. I investigated the career path and decided to give it a go. I studied everything I could about sales, specifically in tech. Always been technically minded. Eventually landed a job as an SDR and found I was very successful. Also much older than all other SDRs I worked with. For the first time in my life I was in track to make 6 figures in a year. I quickly got promoted to AE where I was now making $150K a year. The entire time I was at this company, I was way more successful than those around me. So much so that my peers and managers were coming to me to find out what I was doing different. Turns out my success came from the processes and systems I set up for myself. It was something that came natural to me. I was asked by management to put together some trainings to help others, which I was more than happy to do, as it was reminiscent of my work mentoring youth and matched well with my natural propensity to build systems. I realized I loved doing this work and decided I wanted to do this full-time. I studied hard to learn a new field. Sales operations. Revenue operations. This is what I do now and I'm quite successful and love working every day. I also just had a baby and love my family. I live on the opposite side of the country now from my chosen family, the Barn people, who all live their own lives. We keep in touch regularly and play video games together when we can find the time. I miss the adventurous life from time to time. But business, my career, and family are full of adventure. I'm always learning, providing real value to the company I work for, and people view me as a trusted and knowledgeable partner. All this to say, you have one life, live it the way you want. You can find success at any point and all paths are filled with joy and sorrow. There's simply no right way to do things, other than how you choose to do them. I've had a lot of jobs, and I'm happiest in a trade rather than any office job. If you aren't an addict and can manage money, starting your own business in a trade is much easier than with most fields of study in university. I have known people who started labs in the field of biology with massive private financing, but none lasted long when expected profitability isn't met in time. What I've seen is the main, only lab for a given service is grossly overpriced and can crush a startup lab with competitive pricing. Everyone I know in a trade who owns their own business or in a union are doing well for themselves. They all own homes, have little debt, take a month-long break once or twice a year, and are genuinely content if not downright happy with where they are in life. Had I the ability to do it all over again, I would have stuck with my original plan of trade school for plumbing and not gone to college. Just as an example, my brother-in-law started a concrete business in his early 20s and is planning to retire next year, at 43.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.